Welcome into the BBOC tailgate. I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Mike Calabrese. We bet college football player props. We're 25, 18-1 on the year. Monster 4-1 week last week. I go 2-0. You go 2-1. That's well done. Calabrese, it's week 11. Can't believe we're already this deep into the season. We're betting this thing at 58%, and we need to finish strong. I have a good feeling. I think we can do it. Start us off.
All right, let's get started with an under on a passing total that would have been sacrilege in September. Michael Penix Jr. under 301.5 passing. In the month of September, he averaged 400 yards per game. But it's been different since the weather's got a little bit colder, since Washington's felt the pressure of this college football playoff push. In his past three games against Arizona State, Stanford, and USC, only averaging 300 yards per game. And I got to tell you, ASU, Stanford, and USC's pass defense, horrific. As a group,
they ain't world beaters.
Yeah, as a group, they are in the triple digits in pass defense. Now here comes the Utah pass defense. Second nationally in success rate, 11th in sack rate, 11th in havoc. And what did they do against other Heisman contenders? Caleb Williams, 256 passing yards, 40 yards below his season average. Bo Nix, 248 yards passing, 50 yards below his season average. So I think Penix is walking into a tough spot here to rack up yardage through the air. And also Dylan Johnson at running back is starting to really get more touches, be a bigger part of their offense. They're shrinking the games down a little bit. So I think we are far removed from those September days where he was thrown into some really bad pass defenses. And in this game, I was shocked to see his number over 300. So I'll go under. I would play it all the way down to 297.5.
Calabrese, that takes some charisma to take a Michael Penix under. So, I mean, hey, I tried a Marvin Harrison Jr. under earlier this year. Didn't go too well, but I'm hoping you have better luck with Heisman contenders. I'm going to go to the SEC. Tennessee running back Jaylen Wright over 69.5 rushing yards. Nice. Look, Tennessee, they have one of the best rushing offenses in America. And the catalyst for the whole thing is the junior running back, Jaylen Wright. He has 6 games over 100 yards this season to his name. They average over 227 rushing yards per game. That's third best in America. Wright himself, 7.5 yards per rush. That's fifth best in America. And a lot of this has to do with explosives. Wright has 30 rushes of 10 plus yards this year. That's 8th amongst those who qualify. And the Missouri defense, the rush defense especially, is nothing to write home about. They're 94th in rush play explosiveness allowed, and then they're 51st in yards per rush allowed. So I think this bodes well for a Tennessee team that surprisingly rushes the ball, I think, better than people give them credit for, with all the talk of Hendon Hooker last year and Joe Milton this year.
I believe it was an anonymous SEC defensive coordinator the first year that Heupel was at Knoxville, and he was being interviewed about the offense. And someone was talking about, how it's this aerial attack and it's high powered and there's so much to worry about in terms of getting your secondary in the right place. And he corrected the interviewer. He's like, this is really a run offense. And what he meant by that is by the sheer, virtue of them moving all the receivers as far out on the perimeter as possible, you can't play any cat and mouse games and have more people in the box to stop the run. So for the most part, he's going to be running into 5 and 6 man at worst boxes in this game. So I agree. The chances for him to pop a big run and get like half of this total in a single carry is very high. So I think that's a sharp play on your part.
That's what we're hoping for. By the way, I just got to say, I like it to 75.5 because I forgot to mention that.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's go with an over here. You talked about explosives. Let's talk about one of the most explosive receivers in the SEC that does not get enough credit for it. McConkey, over 62.5 receiving yards in this game. We played him 2 weeks ago in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. He rewarded that faith with 6 catches for 135 yards, blew past his number. I think it was like 39.5. This is still not high enough. Last week against Mizzou, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 95 yards, 15 targets in the past 2 games alone without Bowers. So you're seeing where all those targets are going with Bowers still recovering, from that lower body injury. And here comes the Ole Miss defense. They rank 69th in explosiveness allowed, which McConkey, that's his calling card. He's going to hurt you with those big plays. He's averaging 17.5 yards per reception with Bowers sidelined. And finally, the implied score in this game, when you look at the Vegas spread and total, is Georgia 35, Ole Miss 24. I think this is a 4-quarter battle. I think this potentially has a chance to devolve into a bit of a shootout. And for that reason, I like this up all the way to 67.5 in the market.
Yeah, I played Lad again last week, and I just keep looking at that number. this isn't high enough. And you brought up a good point too, with the way he especially pushing the middle of the field in terms of his depth of target. Seems like every time he's running, naked in the middle of the field, 20 plus yards. So you can get it in just a couple of receptions. So our boy Ladd for the third week in a row. I hope we can do it. I'm going to stick him with wide receivers as well, and an over. Jacob Cowing, the Arizona wide receiver. I have him over 53.5 receiving yards. I probably like it to about 60.5. Well, here's an idea, Calabrese. Fading the Colorado defense. They're one of the worst in America. And since Fafita took over, the Arizona quarterback who's been a stud, Cowing leads Arizona in targets per game. So, that bodes well. And also, if you look closely, Colorado, they don't cover the slot well. And that's where Cowing takes 90% of his snaps. They don't really cover anything well, but especially the slot. And look, pick your stat. Pass down success rate, pass down EPA. Arizona usually has a single digit or a double digit next to their name, and Colorado likely a triple digit. So give me Cowing over 53.5 receiving yards.
If you say Arizona or Fafita 3 times in a row, Beetlejuice style, Stuckey will just appear because he wants him in the college football playoff. He's been banging the drum, and he's right. This offense is humming with this kid at the controls, and Cowing and T-Mac on the perimeter are the beneficiaries of the improved quarterback play. So I really like this one for you. I'm going to wrap things up here with an anytime touchdown. Garrett Greene, the quarterback from West Virginia, plus 120 right now in the market. I'd actually play it, flip that to minus 120 on the juice. It's pretty simple. Oklahoma's given up a rushing touchdown to a quarterback in 3 straight games. Greene is averaging a rushing touchdown per start, and he comes in as someone who can score from distance. He had a 35-yard scramble for a rushing touchdown against TCU. But the main reason I like it is he is a major part, integral part of their goal-to-go offense. He's keeping the ball on zone reads. He's sneaking it. He's doing, designed runs, rollouts that turn into scramble touchdowns. 2 weeks ago against UCF, he scored 3 times on the ground. And if you watch that game, you see exactly all the different ways that he's impactful on the ground. He has 7-yard run for a touchdown on a zone read, then 7-yard run on an RPO that he ended up tucking and running. And finally, he had one of these bootlegs where it was kind of an RPO, and he just put his head down and got into the end zone. So he'll get every opportunity to punch one in against an Oklahoma defense that is reeling at this point. And like I said, they've given up a rushing touchdown 3 straight games to opposing quarterbacks, and not all of them were as good runners as Greene. So I'm going to go ahead and play this one and tag it on, maybe as a parlay sweetener if I go ahead with West Virginia plus the points in this one.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. Just the eye test, Oklahoma facing running quarterbacks. Bean scrambled a number of times in the game against Kansas. Rice Plumlee, we saw what he did to that Oklahoma defense. So Greene is your guy, and you deserve a Greene touchdown because you've been banging the drum on him for a while now. Those are 5 plays for week 11. Like I said, we're 58%. Is that the number? 58. So it's been a good year. It could be a great year if we finish strong here. For Mike Calabrese, I'm Tim Kalinowski. It's the BBOC Tailgate.